A couple of weeks ago, he was one of an increasing number of players who've admitted they needed counselling to deal with anxiety and depression. Danny Rose at Spurs was another. It seems to be a problem for more and more players, and many are seeking help. Some from this man, who learned from his own experience.
When I was in the youth team, I started to get a lot of stomach cramps, sickness and diarrhoea after games. I didn't know what it was. Looking back now, it was fear and anxiety. You don't really know what it feels like. You don't know what it feels like to be in the tunnel before the game, in the dressing room. And go, I'm scared. I'm scared, I'm not good enough. It looks like a big tough target, man, but I wasn't getting on with it. I was killing myself on the pitch.
His header and a chance and a goal from Drewe. 18-year-old Drewe.
Drew Broughton was a talented young footballer who never fulfilled his potential, but not due to his lack of talent.
Aims for that area, and what an attack there by Broughton. Broughton scores!
After a journeyman career at over 20 clubs, he now spends his time helping today's current breed of footballers learn from his experiences in the game.
I was talented. I was at Norwich City from a kid, broke into the first team. It was all happening. I was scoring goals for fun all the way up, and within 18 months of that debut, within a year probably, I dropped down to League Two. And like so many of these young players now, didn't have a clue how to survive. I had to apologise to a lot of the clubs I played for and the managers who signed me, because they were right in what they were signing. I was the player they thought they were signing, but I didn't know how to bring that player out. As far as I was concerned, the only people that had feelings were little girls, women and weak people. That was my mindset. Winners and tough people don't have feelings.
Not betraying any confidence by saying that we've got half an hour chatting to you before, but today is sandwiched between meetings with international players who'll come to speak to you about their feelings. What experiences are you seeing from these people?
Similar to what I had, whether you're playing for whoever, at the top of the league, or you're playing in League Two, you're a human being whose dream it was to be a footballer. And that puts a certain amount of pressure, because all you want to do is be this footballer. They don't know what it takes to survive in the world, the real world. And men's professional football, or life, is the real world. Dog eat dog, eye for an eye. The most competitive industry in the world. It's harder to be a footballer than it is to get into Harvard or Oxford and Cambridge.
Is it getting any better?
No, because unfortunately players will always look at the manager. Every player's scared of the manager, because they see the manager as the power to make them or break them. I said, no, he doesn't. He will pick you every single week if you're at your best. You're undroppable. He hasn't got the power over you. You have that power. If you play at your best, who wouldn't want you in their team? So if you can get in that mindset rather than relying on codependency, almost being dependent on that person they own my destiny, they don't. I speak to players all the time. You laugh, you wouldn't dare go to the manager and say, get up, I'm struggling, I don't think I'm good enough, or I'm worried that my contract's running down. And unless that leader's done that emotional work on themselves, they can't have empathy towards that. And I think most players that I see retire and go into the coaching management, they're like, well, you just get on with it, it's still that. I think that's what Gareth Southgate brought outstandingly well to the England team this summer. It's called emotional intelligence, isn't it? I don't know these buzzwords are throwing around, but he seems a very emotionally intelligent man. And the players are far more creative. Players are having a touch on the ball rather than just hooking it on and whacking it. And that takes courage, and courage takes confidence. So I think he managed to do exceptionally well.
There's more and more players coming out with anxiety, depression, being open and honest about it. Does that mean there's more footballers who are suffering it, or has it always been prevalent?
It's always been prevalent. People just used to hide from it. Tony Adams, ask him. He hid from it for how many years? Drank it away in a culture that was seen as cool. It's not the escapisms that they used to be. Or the escapisms are more highlights, more cameras now. There's social, you can't get away with anything. Someone's going to video you on their phone, and in the old days you could go and hide yourself in a pub.
These players are taking this stuff home, aren't they?
Yeah, taking it home, taking it to casinos. Casino culture's rife, because lads don't really drink anymore, and pub culture's gone. Everybody knows the casino culture's rife. They teach you that on the badges now. They talk about young players and to watch out for. Gambling, online gambling. Just a way of pouring out your feelings. That energy's got to go somewhere. It's got to go somewhere.
Where would you like to see the game in 10 years' time?
Just being able to say I'm scared, just with managers going, it's okay. And funny just watching the older ones who are my mates, a lot of them 34, 35, who are just like, it's funny, they're at the end, they've just coped. And they just got through it. And you've got the younger ones on the first start of the journey, are about to all get just kicked out of the game. Not tough enough, not tough enough, not tough enough. Next one in, he's not tough enough. This circle.
So what advice does he have for today's current footballers?
Do the work on yourself. Whatever your stuff is, go work on yourself. You all go to the gym, you all got biceps and pecs, and you all look good. Well, how's inside here? Most of you would be like 0 out of 10.
Is it heartbreaking watching some of these players?
Tough, yeah. It digs up a lot of stuff for me emotionally, but I still have my own therapist, so I make sure I see her once a week. It's tough. It's heartbreaking. You can't fix everyone. You can't save everyone. You just do your little bit.
Drewe Broughton talking there with Russ Taylor, really interesting stuff as well. I mean, Tis, I saw a stat: a third of current and ex-professionals suffer from anxiety problems. Does that surprise you that it's that high?
It does a little bit.
Were you aware of it in your playing days?
No, not really at all. And that's why it surprises me, because I think people just didn't talk about it. They just didn't talk about it, so you wouldn't know. And so those figures will be a surprise, because I don't think I ever had a single teammate who ever confided in me that, you know, they were feeling anxious about their performance and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, a third of all players is a big surprise to me.
I think that was the problem, notice, isn't
Yeah,
it? When
absolutely.
you were playing, you didn't know because they kept it in house. Just what Drew's saying there, I thought that was absolutely fascinating listening to. Exactly, you're putting yourself in there, and I'm thinking, well, what was it when I played? What did we do? We like to think we were macho men, and we could handle all the pressure that come on you week in and week out. You were going to win at all costs. Going in there, I was all right. Was I really thinking about some of the other players? Most of those 11 or 12 that I had were similar to me. There was others there who sometimes come in and went out, who didn't have that mental toughness. Was I really bothered about them? And you could see some of them maybe suffering at time. And I used to just think, well, you're not good enough, and that's it. And that's what he's saying there. But you look further inside them, and they have this anxiety. Am I good enough to play in this team? Am I good? So it goes deeper. I thought it's a fascinating interview.
When I was like 12, 13, 14, like when I used to play, I used to get palpitations. Like I couldn't breathe. Like the nerves got me that badly. And I went to the doctors and I said to the doctor, and the doctor said, stop playing. Stop playing football. If you can't handle it, stop playing. And I got it as I went on in my career, but then I knew it was nerves, I knew it was anxiety, and I knew I'd be all right. Do you know what I mean? But when you don't know what it is, then it's a big problem. Because when people are being sick and all that, you know, they don't really know, do they? They're probably thinking in their head, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. That's why I'm getting like this. And it's not. I thought it was really good what he said.
I had played a lot of people who were sick before games because they did that. Yeah. I used to think it made me better because I was anxious. I was worrying about the final result. I was going out there every game, my stomach turning over until I crossed that white line. And that was my freedom. But a lot of people probably couldn't release that. And so it's just fascinating how you get and how you use that. You've got to think about the whole, the other guys who are not doing it. It's a real problem, as Drewe was just saying.
I think there's two issues. I think there's when you're playing, you've got the problem of dealing with everything as a player, and I think our generation, I don't think it's horribly, a little bit harder, a little bit stronger to deal with things. We just bottled it all up and got on with it. I think the current generation of kids, or young men, if you like, you know, it's harder for them to deal with things. That's one issue. And I think the other issue, Jeff, is when you come out of football, because you're in that bubble. It's a proper bubble, and everyone's in that bubble. You don't think there's anything going on in the outside world. And when you come out of that bubble, it is hard. I found it very hard to deal with the fact you can't play football anymore. You can't score a goal anymore. And whatever you do in life, you can't replace that. And it's very, very difficult. Very difficult.
And there have been some high-profile cases recently, the Chris Kirkland and Aaron Lennon, and of course Clark Carlisle as well. And now there are support mechanisms in place. And I imagine there are a lot of players out there who don't see that they have a problem, that they think that their anxiety is absolutely normal.
Yeah, absolutely normal. Yeah, and that is the thing. And I think the more that we make people aware of it with interviews like that, the more hopefully that those people will be watching that and go, actually, you know, there's something there, and I can do something to help myself here and put myself in a better place. And I think that's why that interview was so good, and I think it will just make players more aware.
He should be invited round to every single club, to talk to everywhere. And I don't mean just talking to first team players, from the youth team upwards, or even
in this day and age, the academies, even kids at school now, you know, because it affects them. So
throughout the
it should
leagues,
go,
because
yeah.
further down, the ones who are trying to get on or the ones who are finishing their career, there's a whole host of problems, Jeff. It's peer pressure these days. As he just alluded to there, they've got the arms, the biceps, they're all working out in the gym, to look good and everything. Hold on, you've got to play football. That is the main thing that you're here for. And sometimes that pressure, even down in League Two, you know, with probably your guys at home, even in the National League, there's peer pressure on them all
You've got to pay their
to do
mortgages as well,
things.
Tom, and
And
pressure,
it's all the
pressures.
stuff of mobile phones, social media, everything that goes around. The pressure on these young men is immense and massive, right? Doesn't matter whether you're a superstar or you're down there in the National League. Everybody needs a little bit of help these days.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether you earn £100,000 a week,
Absolutely.
you know, or £100 a week. Anxiety, depression.
That was one of our best
It's
interviews
exactly
that we've
yeah.
ever done. That was
Yeah.
terrific.
And just a little footnote as well, by the way, you talk about bringing these things to people's notice. It's worth saying that the Princes Harry and William have done an absolutely fantastic job in raising awareness about mental health issues as well.